In this video, we will discuss the elements of argument and how you can begin to effectively analyze them. Arguments may or may not include all of these features, which is why it is important to understand what to look for to evaluate and to include when you construct your own. You want to identify purpose, the main claim and premises, structure, quality of evidence, and assess reasoning used. Standard form is a technique of deconstructing arguments and diagramming them. It helps to identify premises, creates a checklist of details to assess, and helps you reconstruct the argument, which can help you recognize missing pieces, flaws in logic, and faulty reasoning. It's simple. List the premises and arrive at a conclusion. Some arguments will have fewer or more premises. Some may not include a rebuttal or a counterargument premise. All will have a conclusion that is a result of the premises. The standard form formula remains the same. Many arguments are simple, some are complex. Some arguments are well developed. Some are rife with faulty reasoning, flawed thinking, and paradox. Here are a few examples of paradoxes.
A paradox is a statement, a concept, a situation, a person, or anything that seems contradictory or defies logic.
The most commonly recognized paradoxes are in the form of a statement that appears to be absurd, like the liar paradox, which is, this sentence is false. What makes this a paradox? Well, if the sentence is false, then it's not true, which means that the sentence must be true, but it can't be because if it was true, then it would be false.
This statement defies logic, it contradicts itself, it's a paradox.
Another example is the Socratic paradox that says, I know that I know nothing at all.
This is a paradox because if you know nothing, then you can't know that you know nothing.
You'll find many paradoxes in math and the sciences from biology to thermodynamics, like the irresistible force paradox, that is, what would happen if an unstoppable force hit an immovable object? There are also many paradoxes in philosophy, like the old, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Mahatma Gandhi has said, whatever you do will be insignificant, but it is very important that you do it. This is also a paradox. You may see documents with the intentionally blank page paradox, which is a page that contains the text. This page is intentionally left blank. Obviously, the text on the page keeps it from really being blank. That's a paradox.
From the highly conceptual philosophies to the quirky comedic notes, paradoxes are everywhere.
Here's an example. We all know that superstitious sports fan. In this example, the premises would be the fact that John saw the Lakers, he wasn't wearing his lucky socks, and the Lakers lost. Those seem reasonable, but does the conclusion? That is where you can assess and evaluate the quality of the argument. Strong arguments have conclusions that logically follow from the premises. Lucky socks affecting a game outcome is unlikely. In this alien example, the argument is logical, but it is not one that is provable with evidence. In this diagram, you can see the many questions that you can ask about one idea, the main idea or premise, or the problem the argument identifies. Refer to the way the main claim and subclaims are related to each other. As you can see, a number of different influences come into play, which we will discuss throughout the course. Again, you will want to ask these questions not only of the arguments that you read, but also you will want to answer these questions in the arguments that you construct. Let's try an example. Pause the video and read this story that could have been in the news today. We'll refer to it over the next few slides. When you read those two paragraphs, what can you identify as holes? This could be missing information, limited information, questionable information, or unsubstantiated claims. Digging deeper, consider the comparisons. Do they jump too far with a conclusion? Did they fail to consider other mitigating factors that impact the circumstances? Was there oversimplification? What about the reasoning? Was it narrow-minded or single-focused? Did the numbers make sense? Were they too broad, too small? How were they explained? We will talk later in the semester about statistics in argument. Is the argument current? Remember the CRAP test? How is the counter-argument or the options or alternatives represented? Identify the conclusion. Boil it down. Were the premises leading up to it sufficient? Did they align with the conclusion being made? Take a moment to look at these questions and points of reference. These would be ways that you would be able to question and counter the argument being presented to indicate that the argument is weak and limited in the evidence that's provided. To strengthen the argument, more detail is essential. This one is overgeneralized with a few implicit highlights that rely on the reader's acceptance of assumptions. Adding the evidence and specifics can anticipate the questions we talked about and answer them before they are even asked. In conclusion, argument structure is an important skill to learn. We take for granted our informal use of argument in everyday life. We take shortcuts. To become more effective at it in formal writing and in speaking, in addition to daily living, we need to take that basic I think concept and learn how to back that up with enough detail and evidence that it shifts from an opinion to premise.